welcome back to my channel. You must be getting ready to teach some Civil War and you don't know exactly where to start. So you're looking for some ideas that you can start teaching the Civil War. That's what this video is going to be. I want to show you a really solid starting point where you can teach the Civil War. And then depending on the age of your child, you can, expound upon or simplify it even more. This particular resource is for grades 4 through 6. I did it with my 3rd grader and my 6th grader. And I also did it with my 1st grader. So this is a really awesome resource that you can do to start teaching the Civil War. It can actually be pretty comprehensive if you want to just do a good little overview. So anyway, let me show you how you can teach the Civil War. If you are new here and you don't know, my name is Kaylin and I was a history teacher when I taught public school. I taught 7th and 8th grade for 1 year and then I did primarily high school for the remaining 8 years that I taught public school. So history is my jam. I love teaching it. And I think that the worst thing that you can possibly do to teach history is to just read a book to your child and then give them a worksheet to fill out. It is probably the best way to make a student dislike history, unless they're just born with this love of history. So I think there's so much more color and vibrancy and good stories that you can teach when you're teaching history. Personally, I like social history. So when I go to teach history, that's typically kind of the direction that I go is what was the lives of the people like that were living during this time? And that goes for the political figures and the people of leadership all the way down to the peasant life and just, more everyday life, I guess you could say. So this is a great way that you can approach teaching history for all subject areas, whatever it is that you're teaching. And Civil War is no different. So what I decided to do, and I've taught the Civil War a couple of times. When I was teaching public school, I taught world history, so it was a little bit different. But this is my favorite resource, so you're not surprised. But I love these history pockets. Side note, if you're teaching a history subject, look and see if there's a history pocket for it. I have a couple of them. This is just a plug for Evan Moore. I love Evan Moore products, and their history pockets are my current favorite. I kind of switch around, but so this is the Civil War history pocket. I will not turn around and grab the other ones. Just go online and you can see them. I'll put it in the description box below, a link to them. But okay, so this is a history pocket. And if you haven't seen history pockets before, I've done a whole video about them, probably more than one. But if this is the first time you've ever seen a history pocket, essentially it's just a take home, I guess. I don't know. It's a product that you create, and each pocket or each page is going to have various items that go with that particular subject within the whole unit. So as the Civil War, in this example, they have a soldier's life, and then they've got several pieces of paper that are going to kind of explain what it is. So when you're going to choose what you want to teach, these are the subject areas that Evan Moore has decided to teach when doing with the Civil War. Now, when I went to teach, I felt like I didn't need to grab outside resources and pull it in and do it in addition, which for me, that's a huge plus to a curriculum, is if it really is a standalone curriculum. And if you know me and you've been around my channel for any amount of time, you know that I very rarely find a standalone curriculum. I'm always adding to it or making it my own. So I've loved that the history pockets are a really good, solid overview. And okay, this is a Kaylin opinion, so do with it what you will, but a solid overview is really the best way to approach a subject until you realize that your kids super duper love it. Then you can dive in a lot deeper. Because if I were to ask you, hey, do you know what years the Civil War happened in the United States of America? I have been surprised. Like, there's a lot of people that just don't know what years it happened. In fact, I myself sometimes forget that the westward movement happened before the Civil War. And sometimes I get that confused that the Civil War happened, shortly after the Revolutionary War, kind of in my brain of timelines. So it doesn't matter like what years the Battle of Bull Run happened or what year, there's some pieces that an overview is really all you need. I don't need to know all of the military strategic whatevers that are happening within each of these specific battles, because chances are that's not going to carry your student through their adult life. So a great overview to know what the Civil War was, why it is important in our country, you know, what's the aftermath of it. All of those pieces are super important, but an overview can touch all of those bases. And that is honestly how I taught my public school classrooms, was just giving them a really solid overview. Recognize is a good word. Just recognize these names, know who these people are, and then you'll be on your way. So, and then if they love history, then of course you can do something more. Okay, so that's a little like side note. All right, so this is the resource that I purchased. This is the product that we create. Now, you will notice it is a little bit different, and I've talked about this before, but in the like, what do you call this? In the resource, let's call it, they will tell you that you're going to get this giant piece of paper, and then you're going to fold it, and then you're going to stuff this stuff inside the pockets. And the first couple of years that I did history pockets with Evan Moore, that's exactly how I did it, was how they told us to. And I would buy the giant construction paper. Okay. The storage is a nightmare to try to do that, because then you're stuck with this like 12 by 12 piece of paper that doesn't fit into any kind of drawer or Tupperware or caddy of any kind. It falls apart, and the like binding is ripping because you tied it with the string or whatever. This has been so much better. So when you're doing, and you can use this for anything, any subject, but when you're doing something that you want to collect a lot of items that go with each subject within the unit, I use these, and they are just I think they're just called medical file folders, although I think I've seen them listed differently on Amazon. You can buy the Amazon Basics brand, and they're cheaper, or you can, buy them from your wherever store. And you can also buy them so that they have, just one of these flaps, two flaps, or if you're doing a really large unit, like I did the Civil War, then you can get the 3 flaps, and then you're going to be able to have six things. You can even put one right here if you wanted to. I didn't, but you could put one right here and one on the back. Now you've got 8. Okay. So, and likewise, if you just have one of these, but you want to have 4, then you can do the front and the back. Okay. So make sure that if you're going to collect any kind of pieces and you're going to put them all in a pocket, whatever subject you're doing, science or blah, 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 then these have been such a fun way to do that. Okay, back to this particular one. So this is the cover, and it comes in the book. All of the things that I did for this subject were provided, with the exception of a YouTube video, right? Looking up a quick YouTube video and being like, oh, hey. Okay, so number 1, you're going to do the American Civil War. The first page is always the introduction, and I always buy a bunch of construction paper, and we glue it onto the construction paper. Again, color, fun, arts and crafts. I do try to get my kids to color these papers, but sometimes my older one wants to, and sometimes he doesn't. He's a 6th grader when he did this. So anyway, it just kind of like, whatever, put what is the north and what is the south on either side. You've got a map here. This is a page that we always read together, and he did mount it, but he didn't give me the borders. So again, I'm teaching my kids how to make it cute. It's not that important, but hello, color. Okay, so this is something that we read together. We talk about it. And then again, this is another like little short fact page that you're going to get. And when you decide what you want to do, you can do all of the, suggested activities that they have, or you can just do some of them. It's really up to you. So now that I've shown you that, let me show you what is in here. This is how it comes, okay? So this is a little like synopsis page of the activities that come with it, and it gives you like a little blurb that you can read about it. And then the pages are printed like this. So if you have more than one student, then you print it more than however many times that you need, okay? So sometimes I would print this words, and sometimes I wouldn't. Here's the map. And then this is an activity that we didn't do. This is a timeline. So you have 3 pages here, and then you glue it all together. I didn't choose the timeline. This is a word crossword puzzle. I didn't choose the crossword puzzle. This is a word scramble of the states. I didn't do that. And then this was the north and the south page that I showed you. It was on yellow, okay? And now you're on the second pocket. So you'll see there's several things that you can choose from. Some things you may want to add and some things you may want to take out, just kind of depending on how much time you have, how much interest you have. Sometimes I feel like the crossword puzzle and the word search or whatever, the word scramble, I was like, this feels like a time filler. I'm not really interested in that. So you just pick and choose what you want. Now, a pro tip. If you are putting them in a book like this, you will need, when you copy it, to shrink it down. I typically would shrink it down to like 87 or 90%. Then it will make it the right size so that it fits into your file folder pockets, okay? I make this as a pocket. This is just a piece of construction paper with tape, okay? So I put the tape on either side. Do 2 pockets, pro tip. Do 2 pockets at a time when you build it. And then, so you'll put the paper on both sides and then tape it, and then your student will glue the label onto the pocket, all right? And then you've got your nice little pocket there. If you print that to size and you just like copy it 100%, it's not gonna fit in here. So you'll learn that real quick if you don't heed my advice, okay? All right, so that is the example with that. Okay, let me just finish showing you really quick. So now you've done an introduction. Of course, you can look over to YouTube and see if there's something, let me show you this. See if there's something on YouTube that you want to, incorporate. Look on Pinterest if you want to do some kind of Civil War or whatever craft or make a fancy box. I don't know, but I felt like this was sufficient. So then we just moved on. The next one is slavery. So we learned about the cotton gin. We learned about plantations. This was a cute little like map of, this is just like who the people on the plantation are. This was such a cute little book. These are the voices of protest for slavery. And then it's like a little pocketbook. How cute is that? My kids loved this. I loved making this, right? Look, it's a little pocketbook, and then you have Harriet Tubman. And again, then you as the kids are like putting this together, this is Frederick Douglass, then you can look up a YouTube video for it. So you would put in Sojourner Truth for kids in your YouTube search line. And then, Homeschool Pop has a lot of really great homeschool short clips that teach you about people like that. And then this is just about, and then this is the fact sheet, okay? So and sometimes you can do a whole pocket in one day. Sometimes you wanna like expound on it a little bit, then you can do multiple pockets, okay? Again, this is not gonna be a super in-depth way to do it. If you want to incorporate more activities as far as slavery in America, it is a huge topic. You may want to find another resource that can add to this, but this is a really cool way to keep it all in one place so that at the end of the school year, when you're doing your show and tells and open house or however you finish your school year to like celebrate all of the work you've done, it's just a nice compact thing. We do open houses for mine. And so I pull out all of the kids' projects and things that we've done to kind of show what we've learned over the year. And this just sits so perfectly on their desks here so that we can, say like, oh, look at all the things you did. Okay. Leaders in War. This was such a fun unit. We learned a lot about Abraham Lincoln, not so much about Jefferson Davis, but we have even planned a road trip to go to Illinois over the summer so that we can see the land of Lincoln. But we also have Robert E. Lee, Ulysses S. Grant, and then the president of the Confederacy, which is Jefferson Davis, and then Abraham Lincoln. Again, it's an overview and an opportunity for you to be able to have your kids recognize these names and how they were important in history. We even like on YouTube, you can go on field trips through their homes. So we went and looked at like the White House of the South, and we looked at Jefferson Davis's home. When we were doing the slavery, we were going on field trips. We like went to plantations and watched those field trips, and just people who go to the site and they like film their tour, so that's what we watch, and it's like we're there. Now I would love to go on a real plantation tour or really walk through. We actually have stopped by the White House of of the South, but it was during COVID, and so it was closed and we couldn't go inside. But anyway, so this was a really fun one, and you can do a lot of fun things with the leaders of war, okay? The next one that we did was major battles. Now, this is where I think that public school got really hung up, because I remember when I was a student and when I was teaching war, that it was like, you have to know all of the battles, and you have to know where they happened, and you have to know what the strategic, like, General Lee came from the north, and then General so-and-so was from the south, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't think that that really matters that much. So I just wanted to teach my kids what were the major battles so that they would recognize the names of these locations, specifically Bull Run, Gettysburg, Sherman's March to the Sea. And so anyway, that's what we kind of went through. Now, this was our battles book. Again, look how fun. Like, it's just creates a little different, presentation. So your kids are putting something together. Now, my child went through this season where he didn't want to color anything, but my younger one did. I should be showing you hers because it's far more colorful, but it just gives you an opportunity to do something a little bit different, and certainly better than just reading it out of a book and then watching a YouTube video. So, we have been to a few of these battle sites. So specifically, we've been to Bull Run. And then I guess that's the only one that what they talked about in this unit, but we've been to a few of the battlefields when we were back east, during our road trip. But anyway, it's just kind of an interesting way. Now, one person that they didn't necessarily talk about was Stonewall Jackson. I like the story of Stonewall Jackson, so I did teach that. Oh, Fort Sumter, duh. I can't believe I didn't mention that. Okay, so Fort Sumter is one of them as well. Anyway, I taught Stonewall Jackson in addition to the major battles, because they didn't really talk about it that much. But okay, then we did A Soldier's Life. We talked about the drummer boy, and then there was a great YouTube video about the drummer boy and what they wore and how important they were and how young they were and all of that. My kids were really interested in that story. This makes a tent. I'm not going to touch it very much but it makes a pop-up tent. Oh, there we go. Kind of like this. Okay. So we talked about what the soldiers carried and how they had to share their pup tents. This is shows what they wear. Look how cute this is. Like all these cute folding things. And then inside it has the uniform, and then it talks about it. And then of course there was a lot of really cool YouTube videos that were sharing that. So they have one of these for both the Confederates and the Union. And then I have the fact sheet back here. So we did print that off as well. Now you will notice that I did not include the summary thing that I had in some of them, right? Oh, that's the Cotton King. But some of them, oh gosh, I'm trying to show you and now it's getting awkward. Okay, so like this one, the big about page, I didn't print this off for all of the units. I sometimes would just have my kids read it, or I would read it to them, or sometimes we wouldn't read it at all and we would just, move on. Okay, so the last one is war technology, and this was kind of like a quick review as we finished up the unit, because I felt like it was taking us forever to get through. But we learned about ironclads, we learned about Morse code, and then photography. Oh, that's not more. This is the Morse code one. Oh, he doesn't have his Morse code one in here. Anyway, we talked about Morse code too. So anyway, and then you're finished. So you have this really awesome book. All of these resources are in this book. Now, there are a few things that I did not include because I only had 6 pockets. So I did not include the women during the war. We talked about that a little bit when we talked about leaders in the war. But let me show you that page really quickly, just in case you want to continue. Okay, there's so many additional pages in here that I didn't include now that I'm looking at it. And so you might ask, well, why did you include some things and not others? And it's just preference. I just chose not to, okay? One of the things I didn't include was Civil War recipes. And that would be something that you could pull outside of the classroom with your kids and go into the kitchen and make some browned tomatoes or Johnny cakes or fried hardtack, right? Like you can make those types of things. Okay, here's the section on women during the war. And they're going to have Clara Barton. We actually did talk about Clara Barton. When did we talk about her? I don't know, but we talked about Clara Barton. Quilting for a Cause, and Virginia Matthews, Diary of a Young Girl. So I didn't do those sections, but if you love quilting or you want to teach your kids about quilting, then that would be a really awesome time to do it, about how they quilted during the Civil War for a cause. I remember reading about, and I don't know if it talks about it in here, I'm not going to read it just to see, but I remember my mother-in-law is a very avid quilter, and she would teach me about quilt squares that the people in the South would put up on their homes, and in the North as well, for the Underground Railroad. So it would let those on the Underground Railroad know what they could find in those houses and that it was a safe house. So I don't know what this is. Northerners were excellent quilt makers. Southerners, Woolmans didn't make it as much. Today, there are not many quilts left from the Civil War. Soldiers were even buried with their quilts. Okay, well, I'm sure it was a cute unit. I didn't teach it, but now I'm like ready to want to. Here's this girl's diary. You learn a little bit about a girl who actually was in the Civil War, and those are the kinds of stories that I love. So you're like, Kaylin, why didn't you teach that to your kids? It's like, well, because there's something about time, right? Sometimes the days go on and you're like, how is it that we've been doing this unit for 3 months now? So it is a super fun thing. As far as a timeline, how long does it take to complete a history pocket? It's up to you. You can do one pocket every day and be done with it in a whole week, or you can do one every other day, or you can expound it. You can do a couple of pieces every day. I am not necessarily one to do an hour of history. You know, we just kind of like pick at it a couple times a week. And, you know, then we go back and like, hey, remember when we talked about this? So anyway, it really, how long it's going to take is up to you. You can make the pace, which is something that I love. So anyway, we love these history pockets. This was a super fun way to teach the American Civil War. So if you are looking for an easy way, very low prep, not a whole lot of knowledge needed on your part, you can learn with your kids if you're intimidated by that, then with this resource and some free YouTube videos, you can have a really solid understanding of what the American Civil War was, who the players were, what it was about, and kind of how it all concluded. So I highly recommend this resource. I'll put it in the description box below. What resources do you use to teach the American Civil War? I would love to know, because we will be going back to this when high school gets around. So anyway, thanks so much for watching this video, and we'll catch you in the next one.